welcome to my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Global trade and the maritime industry. This section discusses in depth the developments in the global economy and in global trade together with the significance of maritime transport and its interrelations. In this regard, various data on global trade and international maritime trade are presented and reviewed. After the global financial crisis in late 2008-2009, witnessed the worst global recession in over 7 decades since World War II. Global GDP shrunk by 2.2%, with an approximately 30% decline in the total volume of global trade in 2009 and only a 1.8% increase in global economic output between 2007 and 2010. During these crisis years, the trade patterns in both developed and developing countries altered. In parallel, the import and export volume of developing economies remained below their previous levels. On the other hand, imports and exports from emerging market economies were 26 and 22% respectively above their previous levels. The global economy continued to struggle to return to a strong position. World output growth was just 2.2% in 2012, and this remained approximately the same in 2013, with 3% expected in 2014. Moreover, the total volume of merchandise export dropped 7 times more rapidly than global GDP. These changes were related to globalized production processes and the increased trade in parts and components. The deepening and widening of global supply chains, the product composition of the world in demand for consumer goods and durables, and limited trade finance. Rapid declines in trade volumes also resulted from the trade in goods dropping faster than that in services. Further, weak consumer confidence depressed the retail industry, while the low level of capital investment and slowdowns in the real estate and housing sectors continue in advanced economies. A global recovery took place by early 2010 with an expansion of 4.1% in GDP and a growth of 9.5% in the total volume of trade based on World Trade Organization estimates of 180 economies around the world. The annual increase in export from developed economies was about 13% in volume term in 2010, while the annual increase in shipment from developing economies, Asian countries, 14.7% and China 29.1%. In particular, rose by 16% as the world started to emerge from recession. This recovery played a crucial role in the expansion of the total volume of global trade and improvement in the global economy. However, the global recovery was slower than previous post-recession recoveries, and it was particularly challenged by the uncertainties, fragile economic conditions, and political problems and transformation taking place in several Middle Eastern countries at the beginning of 2011. As a result, the annual increase in exports from developed economies dropped to 0.4% in volume term in 2012, while that from developing economies, Asian countries 1.5%, China 7.2% was up to 3.6%. A growth in international trade positively affected the growth in international transport services, the second largest category of commercial services after the tourism sector, because of the movement and carriage of goods from suppliers and producers to consumers as end users. Maritime transport services are directly driven by global economic growth and the need to carry goods internationally, and thus they are subject to developments in the global economy. In other words, global economic growth directly influences international trade, which in turn directly affects transport services and therefore the world seaborne trade volume as a measure of demand for shipping, port and logistics services. Maritime trade is the most commonly used transport mode in international trade, representing about 85% of total transport volume. As demand for both maritime transport services and logistics services derives from global economic growth and the need to carry out international trade. The global shipping industry and maritime transport activity, notably seaborne trade, could not escape from the contraction in global GDP and international trade volume in 2009. In parallel with these economic declines and following the collapse in economic growth and international trade, the total volume of international seaborne trade shrunk by 4.5% in 2009. The total volume of goods loaded was only 7.8 billion tons in 2009 compared with 8.2 billion tons in 2008. Similar to merchandise trade, however, note that in commercial services grew in 2012 and the total value of the goods loaded by using maritime transport services increases to 9.1 billion tons in 2012. The following pink country continue to have the largest share of global seaborne trade with approximately 61% of all goods loaded and 55% of all goods unloaded, reflecting their increasingly leading role in driving global trade. The share of developed economies in global goods loaded and unloaded was 32 and 44% respectively, while transition economies accounted for only 6.4 and 0.8% respectively. After the recession in 2008, world shipment of tanker trade volumes, including crude oil, petroleum products, and liquefied natural gas or LNG, fell by 3% in 2009, as also illustrated in total tanker cargoes loaded amount to 2.73 billion tons in 2008, and this dropped to 2.64 billion tons in 2009, before slightly increasing to 2.83 billion tons in 2012. The major oil producers, including the OPEC countries of Western Asia, were the largest areas for crude oil, together with transition economies with Southeast Asia, Central Africa, the northern and eastern coast of South America, North and West Africa, and Central America, the major product and consumers of oil and gas. The major unloading areas include North America, Europe, Japan, and Southeast Asia. With a strong demand in oil from China, India, Western Asia, and Latin America, crude oil shipments to these regions started to grow rapidly. In terms of the total volume of cargoes loaded regardless of their type, global seaborne trade loaded dropped from 8.2 billion tons in 2008 to 7.8 billion tons in 2009, before rising to 9.17 billion tons in 2012. The total volume of world seaborne trade by type of cargo loaded and unloaded, together with cargo groups between 2006 and 2012, and world merchant fleet tonnage surplus by main type of vessel in the maritime transport industry are used. The year 2009 was the most challenging in the history of the container industry, with dramatic declines. Container trade volumes declined sharply by 9%, totaling 124 million 20-foot equivalent units, or 1.19 billion tons in 2009. The global financial crisis and economic recession contracted demand for consumer and manufactured coal and durables. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.